My name is Serena Hayes, and I am 31. I have never made a spectacle of my age, but 31 carries a quiet weight, a mix of small victories and quiet regrets, the kind of things that linger in the corners of your mind like dust motes dancing in sunlight. That Friday evening, I thought I was stepping into an ordinary routine. Dinner with my boyfriend, Kevin Walker, the man I'd been with for 3 years, living together for 2. Kevin had insisted on a quiet evening downtown at La Veranda, the Italian restaurant I'd been begging to try for months. By 6:30, I expected his text, an "on my way" or a casual delay. Instead, my phone vibrated with, "Sorry, babe. Work is insane. Rain check on dinner? I'll make it up to you." My heart sank, but I didn't panic. I trusted him, or at least I wanted to. By 8 o'clock, as I scrolled through Instagram to distract myself, my stomach dropped. There he was, Kevin, laughing, holding a glass of wine at the Bramble, a posh downtown bar. And next to him, Elena, his college ex, who had moved back 3 months ago. The caption read, "Reunion vibes. Some things never change." I stared at my phone, disbelief crashing over me. That was the dress I had gifted him for his birthday. A subtle, elegant piece he'd sworn made him feel special. The clarity was instantaneous. It wasn't anger exactly. It was the quiet recognition that everything I had ignored for months, the late nights, the evasive glances, the phone always face down, wasn't coincidence. It was pattern. I didn't reply to this post. I didn't confront him. Instead, I breathed in, steadying myself, and began packing my essentials: clothes, electronics, personal documents. I left the furniture, mostly his anyway. The lease was in his name, but I had learned from past relationships: control what you can, document everything, and never rely on promises alone. By 10:30, I had my essentials ready. My phone buzzed with texts from Kevin, oblivious to the storm he'd walked into. "Serena, everything okay, babe? Where are you?" I ignored them. Instead, I drafted a plan: call my friend Olivia, who owned a moving company, and secure a crew for the next day. I photographed the items I was taking, noting every detail: precision, clarity, control, my silent rebellion. I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at the quiet apartment, thinking of Kevin laughing with Elena. Betrayal doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers while you pack your bags and make your exit. I left one message for him: "No worries, take your time." And with that, I stepped out, suitcase in hand, into a night that would mark the beginning of reclaiming my life. I had barely closed the door behind me when my phone buzzed again. Kevin texts were frantic now, each one more desperate than the last. "Serena, please, I can't explain. It's not what it looks like. Come home, we need to talk." I didn't respond. Talking meant negotiating with lies, and I had no interest in bargaining with deceit. Instead, I focused on the next step. I called Olivia, my friend who owned a moving company. Her voice was warm but curious. "Serena, everything okay?" "Just a weird favor. Can you have a crew ready tomorrow afternoon?" "Sure. You're not in trouble, are you?" "No, just logistics." I packed methodically, taking only what I truly needed: clothes, laptop, journal, and a few sentimental pieces I refused to leave behind. The rest could wait for the movers. As I organized my belongings, I realized how much power we give to people who don't deserve it. For months, Kevin's casual evasions had undermined my intuition, but now every decision was mine. By midnight, the apartment felt alien. His laughter, the faint scent of his cologne, it all belonged to a chapter I had decided to close. I took one last look at our shared life: the pictures on the wall, the mugs in the kitchen, the small chaos of everyday living. All of it was gone in a heartbeat, or would be by tomorrow afternoon, and the thought was strangely liberating. I checked social media one last time. Kevin had posted another story, laughing with Elena, a carefree pose I would never have expected from someone who claimed he couldn't make it to dinner. My chest tightened, not with anger, but with clarity. That clarity was my compass. As I slid into a cab to my brother's apartment for the night, I felt a flicker of anticipation. Not fear, not regret, anticipation. For the first time in months, I was acting on my own terms. The night was quiet. The city lights blurred into streaks as I imagined the conversation to come. Would he explain? Would he apologize? Perhaps. But explanations couldn't undo months of small betrayals. Truth, I realized, was not always dramatic. Sometimes it was methodical, quiet, and entirely irreversible. By 2 o'clock a.m., I had unpacked my essentials in my brother's spare room. I left my phone off, letting the world and Kevin stew in their confusion. Sleep came easier than it had in years. The next morning, I woke to an inbox flooded with texts and missed calls. Kevin panic was visible in every notification, but I was calm. I had planned every step, documented every detail, and taken control of the narrative. He would not manipulate me further, even when his mother, Lorraine, began calling later that morning. I didn't answer. Their attempts at intervention were irrelevant. What mattered was my clarity, my independence, my decision to act instead of react. By mid-morning, I had contacted Olivia to confirm the moving crew for 2:00 p.m. They would handle the rest, and by evening, I would have severed ties with the apartment and with the lies that had filled it. In moments like this, I realized how much of life is about silent victories, the ones no one sees, the ones that, when they accumulate, create unshakable strength. And that's exactly what I intended to do: leave quietly, decisively, and completely intact. By mid-afternoon, the moving crew had arrived. Serena's heart was steady, her mind clear. Every box labeled, every item accounted for. She wasn't panicking, she was precise, deliberate, and unflinching. And then the door opened. Kevin stood there, breathless, a mixture of disbelief and anger etched across his face. "Serena, what are you doing?" he asked, voice tight, trying to sound calm. "Packing," she replied simply, motioning toward the crew. "You can explain later, or not at all." He glanced behind him, and, as if on cue, Elena appeared at the entrance of the apartment, awkward and apologetic. "I just came by to—" "Stay out of this," Serena cut in, her voice firm. She didn't shout. She didn't plead. She simply commanded presence, and that was enough to shift the energy of the room. Kevin attempted explanations, fumbling for excuses. "It's not what you think. Elena and we're just catching up. It's innocent." Serena's gaze didn't waver. She pulled out her phone, displaying the Instagram story. Kevin laughing with Elena, clearly enjoying himself while pretending to be stuck at work. "Innocent?" she asked quietly. "Then explain why I got a text saying you'd be late for dinner because of a work emergency." Kevin faltered. Words stumbled from his mouth, excuses twisting into contradictions. Elena tried again, but Serena silenced her with a single, pointed glance. This wasn't a debate, it was exposure. Then Lorraine arrived, Kevin mother, her presence hot and commanding. "Kevin, Serena, stop this immediately!" "I'm not stopping anything," Serena said. Calm, rational, immovable. "I'm reclaiming my space, my time, and my life. The rest is yours to figure out." Lorraine's fury bubbled, but Serena stayed steady, recounting the sequence of lies, the social media evidence, the months of deception. The crew worked around them, loading boxes with professional detachment, underscoring Serena's control in the chaos. Kevin's voice cracked as he tried one last plea. "Serena, you're overreacting. It's just drinks." "Just drinks?" Serena's eyes hardened. "Do you lie to my face while enjoying just drinks with your ex? That's the choice you made, and I'm acting on mine." The confrontation reached its apex when the movers began loading the last boxes. Elena lingered uncomfortably, realizing her role in the deception was part of Serena's narrative now. Kevin tried to interject again, but Serena remained silent, letting her actions speak louder than his excuses. By the time the last box was gone, the apartment no longer belonged to Kevin, or Elena, or the lies that had filled it. It belonged to truth. Serena's decision was final. As she stepped into the cab waiting outside, she glanced back one last time. Kevin was standing on the steps, Elena beside him, caught between shock and the realization that she had underestimated Serena's resolve. This was more than a breakup. This was clarity, strategy, and silent victory. Serena had acted not out of rage, but out of reason, and in that, she was untouchable. The moment I stepped out of that apartment, the real chaos began, not for me, but for Kevin. Texts, calls, social media notifications. He tried everything to pull me back into the storm. "Serena, please, we can fix this. You're overreacting, don't leave. It was innocent, I swear." I didn't respond. My calm, my clarity, was my strongest weapon. Every attempt he made to guilt or manipulate me bounced off. I had planned for this. I had documented everything, anticipated every twist, every lie. By the next morning, the escalation was in full swing. Kevin's attempts to assert control over shared finances came through first. A frantic PayPal invoice demanding half the rent, despite months of prior agreements. I responded methodically, screenshots in hand, showing past messages where he explicitly said not to worry, that the month was covered. Proof, precision, control. Social media became another battlefield. Kevin posted cryptic messages accusing me of being dramatic, framing me as the villain in the public eye. I didn't engage. I let his narratives unravel themselves. Meanwhile, mutual friends and family began to take sides. Some tried to mediate. Others, oblivious to the truth, sided with him. But here's the crucial part. His lies couldn't withstand facts. Friends like Bethany came forward, confirming what I already knew, that he had been sketchy with Elena under the guise of work meetings. The pattern, the deception, the hidden dinners, it all became clear to those who cared to see. Even Kevin attempts to manipulate with professional or family authority failed. His mother, Lorraine, had tried earlier to intervene during the confrontation, but now, seeing the meticulous documentation, she couldn't argue against reality. My calm, strategic approach left no room for counter-narratives. Meanwhile, I settled into my new apartment at my brother's place, unpacking the essentials I had brought. Small victories accumulated: a quiet kitchen, a functioning dishwasher, a sense of control over my environment. These were tangible signs that life could continue and even thrive without Kevin manipulation. Throughout it all, I reflected on what had truly happened. Betrayal is rarely an abrupt explosion. It's a slow leak, an accumulation of moments that signal who someone really is. Kevin's actions revealed him fully, not through words, but through choices. And choices, unlike apologies, cannot be erased. By the end of the week, his frantic attempts had begun to exhaust themselves. Social media posts, calls, and messages became desperate, nonsensical, self-defeating. I watched quietly from a distance, observing a man unravel in his own contradictions, while I remained grounded, organized, and free. This wasn't revenge, it was simply consequence, cause and effect. And in that silence, I realized how powerful it felt to act with integrity, to leave decisively, and to refuse the temptation of confrontation beyond what was necessary. Weeks passed, and life settled into a new rhythm. Kevin's frantic messages slowed, his social media rants became erratic and self-defeating, and Elena, finally, moved on, leaving the tangled web of deceit behind. I, on the other hand, thrived in the quiet aftermath. My new apartment was small, but mine, each piece carefully chosen, each corner a testament to independence and clarity. I no longer lived in the shadow of someone else's lies. I built a space where honesty and peace were the rules, not the exceptions. The final twist came unexpectedly. I received word, through the grapevine, mutual friends, that Kevin had been fired. His deceit at work, the endless distractions and manipulations had caught up with him. Elena had blocked him on everything. The social fallout was complete. Watching it unfold from a distance, I felt a strange satisfaction, not malicious, but a quiet validation. Life, as I had learned, has a way of revealing truth in its own time. People show who they are, not in words or promises, but through actions. And Kevin, through his pattern of lies, revealed exactly who he was. I also began seeing someone new, Ethan, from my running club. On our third date, I laughed with him about the entire saga. "So you're saying you'll actually leave someone if they lie about hanging with their ex?" he teased. I smiled. "Absolutely. Honesty is non-negotiable." The world moved forward, but I carried the lessons carefully. Trust your instincts, demand transparency, and never allow yourself to be manipulated under the guise of love. As for Kevin, he tried to rewrite history, claiming I abandoned him, accusing me of overreacting. But the truth stood firm, documented, undeniable. Life had already moved on. Sometimes the ultimate victory isn't dramatic confrontation or revenge. It's the quiet assertion of self-respect, the deliberate choice to remove yourself from deceit, and the courage to start anew. I had packed my bags, hired the movers, and left, not out of anger, but out of clarity. Kevin had chosen lies. I chose freedom. And in that choice, I discovered a piece I hadn't realized I'd been missing. The past was behind me, the present was mine, and the future, honest, self-directed, and entirely my own, awaited.